From Eyewitness News, this is breaking news.
And good morning, I'm Danielle North. We want to bring you an update now on this morning's breaking news from federal court in Providence. If you're just joining us, former Rhode Island House Speaker Gordon Fox was sentenced a short time ago to 36 months in federal prison for misusing campaign money and also accepting bribes. We have learned he is expected to report to prison on July the 7th. Eyewitness News was there as Gordon Fox left court just a few moments ago, and here's what he had to say.
Like I went in there, took $100,000 out of the bank. It was bit by bit by bit by bit. You sit there, as a lot of people do. You see bills mounting. You figure, how do I pay for the bills? And I did something very stupid. I transferred money from a campaign account for personal expenses, and it prevented me, in retrospect, from making the hard choices about you make choices, and people in Rhode Island make choices. Get a different car, get a smaller house. Make those choices. Yeah, obviously I had issues going on with the care of my mother, so it made transporting her very difficult. But still, I mean, it's no excuse. I mean, there's no excuse for that, and that's what I wanted to convey to the court today, and I hope to all of you that I'm conveying today. There's no excuse for this, for my behavior, and I'm very, very sorry.
Were there other times?
So very, very candid words from the former House Speaker just moments after he learned his sentence of 36 months in prison. Our team of Target 12 investigators has been at federal court all morning long. We want to check in with Walt Buteau. He's live for us, and along with hearing from Gordon Fox, we also heard from Peter Nerona and also Peter Kilmartin. A lot of very strong words said outside the courthouse there, Walt.
No doubt about that, and along the lines of that car, which was an Audi, and the house on the east side, according to federal documents, he had an $811 car payment on the Audi, and he had a $3,800 mortgage, so that's what he's referencing there. Gordon Fox apologetic. Meanwhile, the Attorney General and the U.S. U.S. Attorney talking to us afterwards and telling us by no means does this mean corruption is over in Rhode Island, but the U.S. Attorney tells us from the beginning they thought a 3-year sentence was fair, especially with the fact that Gordon Fox agreed to make a plea agreement with the feds in this case. And again, the state case regarding the people who made the bribe to Gordon Fox, we're told that case is still open. Meanwhile, the WPRI.com reporter Dan McGowan was in court and joins us now. So at this point, what do you make of the fact that the Shark case is still open?
Yeah, well, that's the big sort of open scenario here. We learned that Peter Nerona said that federally the shark owners cannot be charged, of course, because there's a 5-year statute of limitations, but it still leaves it open for the state to come in and make a case. But of course, you know, today's day is all about Gordon Fox and the sentencing.
Along those lines, Gordon Fox, at one point the most powerful man in the state of Rhode Island. I think most of us would agree with that. He takes a bribe, spends it. He takes campaign funds, spends those illegally, gets 3 years. Some people say it's not enough. The Attorney General talking about the fact that he made a deal. What about that?
Yeah, that's the important thing for people at home to know today. So the sentencing guidelines on a bribery and a public corruption case are about 41 to 51 months. He's getting 36 months. The reason why Judge Lisi said very clearly the statute of limitations was waived on the bribery charge. The bribery charge was the most significant charge of the 3 that were against Gordon, and he waived it. And so the judge considered that as part of, you know, maybe a more lenient sentence, but she reminded us that he would have gotten only between 12 and 18 months if the wire fraud and tax evasion charges were the only ones filed against him.
And unlike state court, 36 months in federal court means he will spend 36 months in jail.
That's right. I think the vast majority of it he will serve in jail, yes.
You know Gordon Fox, not necessarily personally, but we both know him from following him at the State House. What do you take from his quite a long interview outside? Emotional at times, apologetic at times. What did you make of that?
You know, it's token Gordon Fox. I remember the day after the infamous State House raids, sitting outside of his house, and he came outside and talked to reporters. He was, you know, apologetic for people having to sit out there. Kind of did the same thing there. You know, he certainly showed contrition today, and he took the questions, and now, you know, as he said, he's gonna have a long time to think about what he did.
Dan McGowan from WPRI.com. We'll be covering this all day. We'll have more tonight on Eyewitness News. For now, we're live with the mobile newsroom. Walt Buteau, Eyewitness News.
All right, Walt, thank you. We'll be checking in with you at noon. And as you heard Walt mention a short time ago, it wasn't just Gordon Fox that we heard from outside of federal court. Our Attorney General, Peter Kilmartin, also spoke briefly with the media, and we want to let you know, listening to some sound from outside of federal court from, again, the Attorney General.
I think I agree with the judge and with Peter that this may not be a deterrent. I can say over the course of 25 years of public service, I too have seen it all too often. I think the message is, though, that the judicial system and the prosecutors are still vigilant, that when corruption surfaces, we will be there to prosecute and we will hold people accountable. And that's a portion of the government that folks can have confidence in.
What will it take to reduce corruption in Rhode Island, General?
I think it's the continued effort of law enforcement, the continued effort of prosecutors to hold people accountable, and also for the voters to really take a good hard look at the people they're electing.
What's your opinion on restoring the Ethics Commission jurisdiction?
Just to recap for you, if you're just joining us, former House Speaker Gordon Fox sentenced to 36 months in federal prison. We were there when he arrived at the courthouse this morning, and you also heard some sound from him after he learned his sentence. Again, he used the words "I'm sorry" several times during the course of his interview with reporters outside. He was very candid about why he did what he did. He made no excuses for it, but he explained to the media that it all started when he started to have mounting bills. He was caring for his mother. He started to feel the pressure of his mounting financial situation, which wasn't good. He talked about drawing from his campaign funds slowly over time. And again, was very apologetic, saying "I'm sorry" several times for his action, is also now preparing to head to prison in just a few weeks from now on July 7th. Also outside of the courthouse, we did hear from the U.S. Attorney about the case, and as you heard Walt mention in his report, it's certainly not a closed case at this point.
There were two principal goals that we had when we began to examine the evidence against former Speaker Fox. The first was to ensure his removal from office, since he no longer deserved to hold it. The second was to hold him responsible for the conduct that he engaged in. I've been convinced from the beginning, from the time when we agreed to the plea agreement, that 3 years was the appropriate sentence. It takes into account the fact that we did not discover his acceptance of a bribe until after the statute of limitations had passed, and it captures all of his conduct in a single sentence. And as we know, he will serve most, if not all, of that sentence in a federal facility. I think it's really important.
So as you mentioned, talking about his sentence, we do know he'll be reporting to prison on July the 7th. One thing we don't know is where he'll be going, but we, of course, will stay on top of all those developments for you. And we ask you to stay with Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of this breaking story today as Gordon Fox learns his sentence. We'll have in-depth coverage for you coming up today at noon. You can also get updates anytime at WPRI.com while you're on the go with our iPhone, Android, and iPad apps as well. We'll see you today at noon.
For more on this breaking story, stay with Eyewitness News or log on to our website, WPRI.com.